Only 400 and whatever episodes. To another episode of the Beerfield Fantasy Podcast.
Fantasy Football Podcast.
Fantasy Football Podcast.
No.
Oh, well, doesn't matter. God, my cord does suck. I think we're good now. I am your intern fill-in host, Dan Theory at Theory BFF at Theory Beerfield. I don't even know my own Twitter handle at Beerfield Theory. As always, I'm joined by at Beerfield Hop with 2 P's and oh man, I don't ever have to say Ryan's like FFBB. That's right. FFBB. We're brought to you by our daddy network, the Face Off Network, Fancy Face Off Network.
Face Off Sports Network. You were close, but
no, whatever. This is why I don't host. I was supposed to do just a rookie section.
We're not even 3 minutes in. We're kicking off great. This is awesome.
Man.
This is gonna be a great episode.
Yeah. We're solely getting fired.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, we're so independent-ish. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't fire me. I quit.
Oh, that's right. We're off. Yeah, right. We're off to the fantastic story. So how's it going? You know, obviously we're all very cheerful. We are ish.
Wah wah wah.
I don't know. I just grabbed it from whatever place I was at. I was at one of the Dogwood social places, and I wanted to grab something that's not adjunct or hopped, and this was the first thing I saw. Okay. That's true. Except I got back late. I was trying to rush to get to Infield for trivia. Anyways, this is episode whatever.
431.
431. We're talking rookies. We're finally here. We're 2 weeks away from the draft, which we'll be at. The three of us on here with a bunch of other people.
It's gonna be fun.
We're here to break down. It will absolutely be fun. I love Kansas City. We're here to
We can hear you. I had the same thing like last week.
I should probably pull up you two. Jeebus.
Windows updated, so nothing was working. There you go. Y'all can probably hear me now. So you didn't hear me correct, Dan. You didn't hear me give Ryan's Twitter handle.
Ryan, what's your Twitter handle?
It's Ryan Miner _FFP.
Yeah.
So listen
Even
to the
Ryan.
audio version on Spotify.
Ryan Miner _TPS, TSP, whatever you want it to be.
If you're trying to watch YouTube for the first 4 minutes and you really want to hear what I had to say, just go listen on Spotify.
That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. Yep. No. Windows updated and threw my mic settings off. That's a fun thing. Anyway.
Yeah, we're talking rookies, quarterbacks, and running backs. But before that, let's jump to beer preview.
Beer preview.
What's fueling Beerfield?
All right.
I'm just like Alexa. You just have to say, Alexa, play, and then I'll do it.
Hopper, play. All right, I'll start because Hopper's really upset at me. I'm drinking Center Ice Brewery's Arena Lager. Clearly St. Louis Blues color, which I did not like. I put it together. I was seeing if there was a sponsor by it. And now I see a little guy holding the cup. I don't know. It's the first lager I saw. That was in the cooler at one of the liquor stores I was at today. So again, this is their Arena Lager. That's a lager. More on it later. Whoever wants to go next.
All right. I got a fresh crack here, so little tribute built into this one. First off, the NFL draft is the origin of a bunch of careers, and we're kicking off our draft coverage. Jonathan Taves is playing in his final career game as a Blackhawk tonight. The last of the 7 core members of the Blackhawks that were present for all 3 cups. One of the last 2 that's active, but the last currently on the team. So truly the end of an era. But that era originated with Jonathan Taves. So to commemorate, I was looking for something to commemorate that, and I realized I had a brand new purchase bottle of Bardstown's Origin series. So this is Bardstown's first purely their own distillate. So this is an origin for rookies. It's a celebration of the origin of the Blackhawks dynasty, and it is the origin of Bardstown Bourbon Company's self-distilled stuff. They have 2 versions of this. This particular one is the rye, or they have 3 versions of this: a rye, a wheated bourbon, and a rye bourbon. This is the rye bourbon. It checks in at 60% corn, 36% rye, 4% malted barley. So that is high rye content. Anything above about 30 to 32 considered high rye content. It is 6-year age stated, and it retails for about $45. So proof-wise, this checks in at 96 proof. More on it later.
Not bad. And tonight I am drinking New Belgium's Voodoo Ranger Fruit Force. It's a fruit punch IPA. Something new they just came out with, so I'm excited. I've already had it once, but I had to bring it back. I actually had to bring it on the show because I actually liked it.
Interesting.
Especially on a warm, nice day like today.
Yes, he is now vetting the beers he's put it on. He has to make sure he likes it first. No bad reviews from Ryan.
No, I can't do no more natty lights. I am done with that crap.
No bad reviews.
Natty daddies.
Yeah,
Daddies.
that was a bad idea. Maybe again. Who knows?
All right. News.
News.
And the best news ever. Fucking Dan Snyder decides to sell the Washington Commanders to the owners of the 76ers and the New Jersey Devils, Josh Harris and some company, for $6 billion.
Good.
The NFL is finally rid of the shit stain that is Dan Snyder. Thoughts?
It is amazing because he bought that team back in 1999
Yeah,
for
he's so
800
fucking
million.
rich. Yeah,
Right? And it's
so
like
rich.
the rich just keep getting richer, man. It's like, God damn it.
It's all right. He can sit on his throne of money. I think the take on Sports Chat said you can now sit and watch like Game of Thrones whenever he wants, or like whatever.
He can buy the set if he wants.
He can just buy. He can just buy the actors. He can just replay all of his favorite scenes
Yeah.
live.
He can buy his own dragon now.
Yeah.
Buy its own dragon.
Long time coming. Good for the league, good for the team. Rivera did a pretty good job putting a somewhat competent on-field product together while all of this was going on. Some pretty heinous allegations coming out of that the last couple of years. I think that a lot of owners in the NFL probably did force his hand into this, which good. And good for them. It sucks that he gets to walk away with a pile of money, but good riddance, be gone. Hopefully I never have to hear your name again.
Newsday, Kim Jones reports Saquon Barkley will not sign the Giants franchise tag. Hoping for a long-term deal. Both sides are hoping to get a deal done before the start of the season.
Meh. I mean, people not
Again,
signing
slow
the
news,
franchise.
man.
Yeah, people not signing the franchise tag now. We talked about it with Lamar. I mean, it doesn't do a lot, right? The teams have such a big hand now on what they can do if you don't sign, if you do hold out, and this just sounds like I think a long-term deal gets done.
I think that's the hope. So we'll see if it does. All right, this is for Ryan. Falcons acquire former 3rd overall pick in the 2020 NFL draft, Jeff Okudah, for a 5th round pick. Ryan, what are your thoughts on getting rid of Jeff Okudah?
I think it's perfect. I mean, yeah, we have to eat, I think, 6 million of his contract or 5 or 6 million of it. So it's basically almost like a 50-50 split because it was like no one wanted to pay him $11 million. Plus, this kind of gives Atlanta the option to figure out if they want to pick up that fifth year option after this year. So I actually like what Atlanta's doing defensively because that's where they've really been attacking right now.
And it's not their number one. He will
No.
be their number 2 outside.
Yeah, so it's perfect. He's meant to more be a number 2 than a number 1.
Right.
Yeah, I don't
Raven sign. Oh, yeah.
I was gonna say I don't really have.
I
a lot
assume
of thoughts
that
on
pause.
Okuda, so
Yeah, I know. I put it in there for Ryan. Raven sign OBJ to a 1-year, $15 million contract worth up to $18 million. And then if I saw the breakdown on how he can hit those bonuses, it's all based off of production. It's pretty hysterical. It's like a long fucking list of different tiers he has to hit to get there, and it's outside of touchdowns doesn't look too bad. Reports is that Lamar's been recruiting OBJ to join the Ravens. I don't think this is a guarantee that he stays there. I'm pretty sure if OBJ could have gotten 50 million from anybody else, he would have still picked them. I don't know how he's worth this much, but the Ravens are clearly have an idea of who they want OBJ to be. It's just whether or not him and the 3 ACL tears he's had since college can hold up.
actually, that makes a lot of sense. You put him on a 1-year incentive laden, prove it deal. Which if you can perform, then you get what you think you're worth. If you can perform what you think you're worth, you get what you think you're worth. And I think that's kind of hard to argue with. I think most of us would take a deal like that. It's a 1-year deal. So if it doesn't work, whatever, you're back to the drawing board next season, which they could be anyway if Lamar ends up playing under the tag. So, which is still a possibility. So, I mean, this I don't think moves the needle on what happens with the long-term deal. Could incentivize Lamar to play under the tag and come back again and try next season. Now that he's finally got a receiver, could incentivize the Ravens to see if he can take the next step as a passer. They got him a top-flight receiver that he wanted, allegedly top-flight receiver that he wanted. So there's a lot of politics going on this. As far as fantasy goes, I find it to be best. Like Dan mentioned, 3 ACL tears, a quarterback in an offense that's not known for pumping up wide receivers. Obviously, offensive coordinator that can do that. But yeah, I'm pretty tepid on this.
Regardless of what you think of how much he'll throw, Lamar is still going to take pass attempts from this offense. They may run less design run plays, which they absolutely should. I don't think any OC should ever run design running plays beyond just QB sneaks, whether it be in 4th and short or on the goal line. He's still going to tuck it. He's still going to tuck the ball and run. He still has rapport with Bateman, who'll be coming back from injury. Mark Andrews is still there. It's good to show commitment to OBJ and the fact he'll likely start. You're not going to pay him that much to sit on the bench. You're not going to draft the receiver at this point. Ryan, what are your thoughts?
I still see him as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, either way. Like that wide receiver 1 that he was back in the day is gone. So
you think he's a top 24 receiver?
No, I still don't even look at it as a top 24 receiver. I could maybe say somewhere in the 30s. I don't see it anymore.
I get you.
No, just because. Either. I mean, yeah, he looked great when he was on the Rams, but that ACL tear, being out of football for a year, it's like, what OBJ are we going to get? Because this isn't his first ACL tear. This is his second ACL tear now.
In football, in the pros.
Yeah.
You got hurt
and plus he's already over 30. I mean, it took this long for someone to sign him. Baltimore's one that signed him. Was it more of a Lamar Jackson thing to try to get Lamar Jackson back?
Well, you did recruit him. That's been the talk, is that Lamar recruited OBJ to come play for Baltimore.
Seems like it's more of a play on the franchise tag deal and do the whole dance again next season. It's only a 1-year deal for OBJ.
They're basically waiting to see what the Burrow camp does, what the Herbert camp does, Hurts camp, in terms of their contracts. Obviously, the Watson deal, again, we always come back to to this horrendous offer or this horrendous contract that was given to Watson. And now we're waiting to see what next quarterback, big quarterback, what that contract is going to look like. Because Lamar's not going to be top billing over Burrow. Burrow will likely get the most out of that. And then you can make arguments for Herbert, Jackson, and Hurts after that. But from the looks of it, we're waiting to see what Burrow gets, which I believe will get it done. I think he'll get his deal this year.
What I like too about this deal is it kind of knocked Rashad Bateman's value down, especially in Dynasty. So it's almost like a buy low on him right now because people might think his value is going down since he's been injury riddled the whole entire last 2 seasons.
His best comparable was Keenan Allen, and he's really following that arc beautifully.
Right? So it's like, if you could trade a 2nd-round pick for him right now, I would do that in a heartbeat.
We can absolutely get a second for Bateman. Absolutely.
Yep.
Especially right now with rookie fever going on the way that it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of rookie fever,
Was that
you guys ready?
Is that a clever transition?
I figured.
Hey, real quick, at a production meeting, you have these broken up by position?
I do. I have it in the script profile.
God,
How much you want to make a bet I can throw a football over the mountains?
I put it in the shared folder for scripts. I figured.
I didn't read it.
Hey, you guys don't look at that shit. I don't look at that shit. That's why I created it.
I wanted to be surprised.
There's a shared folder?
I think you're on.
I think I shared it with you. I
think he's on there.
I don't think this is. Hold on.
All right.
I gotta look now.
Hold on. Let me make sure.
I'm gonna take notes real quick. I'll be right back.
What?
Pause the show.
We're live. We don't have a pause button.
Is that under the 2023 show calendar?
Yeah. No. Show sheet or show script.
Did I share?
No, you never. No, all I have is a show calendar.
You definitely have the Beerfield Fantasy Podcast folder shared with you.
I do.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. Anyways, you don't need to look at it. It's very basic.
Yeah, I'm doing impromptu. Let's go.
All right. We're gonna start with quarterbacks because that's what we do. I want you guys to give me your top 5 quarterbacks for not just for fantasy, but for the actual NFL. Because I believe there's a difference. And this is where I think discussions get lost in a lot of podcasts is when we get to rookie conversations, I think there's a mix between how we feel about them as NFL prospects and how we feel about them for fantasy.
So you want 2 lists. You want who's our top 5 for fantasy and then who's our top 5 for the NFL?
Yeah, but then we'll discuss those lists as much as we need to.
Okay. Which one do you want to start with?
Hopper, you could start with whatever. You can do your both. Just do both.
Okay. For fantasy, it's Young, Stroud, Richardson, Hooker, Levis. For the NFL, it's Young, Stroud, and then I would probably go DTR. And then Richardson, Hooker. In that second tier, I'm not sure of, right? They can go in pretty much any order. But I think that's what I'd have the second tier as from an NFL perspective is I think that the only change that I have there is I would have DTR over Levis. And then Tune is just outside on both of those at the 6.
Okay. Ryan, what's your list?
It's a hard list. Because I looking at NFL wise, it's tough to compare because basically it's going to be the same for me.
Well, if you're the GM, if you're the one making the decision for your team in the NFL,
I guess
how would you rank them those 5?
If I was going that 5, I would go Stroud, Young, Levis, Hooker, DTR, and I wouldn't put Anthony Richardson in there.
So he's outside the top 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can I bridge off of this, Dan?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Let's talk DTR for a second because I want to talk about why. I want to talk about
DTR.
Why DTR cracks the top 5 for me as an NFL quarterback, even though it's not necessarily as a fantasy quarterback. And he's one of the last guys that I watched, and I don't think so. For DTR, what I see is a relatively well-rounded, solid player already to start his career that could end up in kind of that Teddy Bridgewater, Jacoby Brissett kind of top tier backup bridge quarterback role long term because, I don't see a lot of high end athletic ability with DTR, but I see a lot of good things with DTR. I think he gets through his progressions well. He generally makes good decisions, doesn't miss open guys, open throws. He's athletic enough to fit the league. It's kind of a Dak type of athleticism where it's not really like.
He's pretty fat. He's pretty 95th percentile 40.
I'm talking
spur score.
I'm talking game speed.
Okay.
I'm talking what I saw on film right now, not talking combine numbers, because John Ross runs fast in shorts. Right? So, and there's a lot more that goes into that for a quarterback too, right? It's more than straight line speed. If you're not Lamar Jackson agile, right, then that's going to slow down. If you're already under pressure moving back and then have to change direction, that also goes into agility and burst. So just some things like that. On film, I thought he was definitely athletic enough to fit the league. Like, I'm not saying he's a statue. I'm just saying that he didn't give me
I know.
Jackson or Josh Allen vibes or anything like that. I'm saying he's definitely good enough. Good sense for pressure. I didn't necessarily see elite arm talent. He struggled a little bit with zone and with some of the drive on his throws. But I think overall that he's very solid, very, very well-rounded. And I think, I wouldn't be surprised if when we talk about this class in 3 or 4 years, if Levis and Richardson both bust, this could be the third most successful quarterback out of this class in NFL terms.
Which isn't saying much because, like, you look at him now, like we're talking about him, and a lot of people look at him as like a QB3. I'm talking fantasy wise with QB2 upside. So he's basically more of like a backup type guy right now, no matter where he goes. Like fourth, fifth, sixth rounder. Yeah,
he's not going first round. So regardless of what we feel about him, it's his upside. It's backup. He's
probably third or fourth round.
Yeah,
I've seen
day 3 for most. Yeah, I've seen pretty much day 3 for him.
Yeah.
He's a project. I mean, that's what he is.
I hope he's on a project for being a 5th-year senior.
I think he's less of a project and more of a this just is what he is, and there's not nearly the upside there that there is with Levis and Richardson. I think Levis and Richardson are projects. I think DTR
absolutely
is less of a project and more. Here's your '99 Honda Civic. You're not restoring this bad boy, but it'll run.
He gives me Tyrod Taylor vibes, guys.
That too.
Which is fantastic. 6th-round pick from Baltimore. Played in a completely different offense when Flacco got hurt. Obviously had success in Buffalo and showed success in a long career tenure. Like, as soon as I saw his profile, from his athleticism to his production, I got Tyrod Taylor, which would be absolute upside.
Yep, I'm with you on that. That's
and he has 28 career rushing touchdowns, and he had 12 this last season. So
he had 21 the last 2 years.
10,000 pass yards for his career, 1,800 rush yards for his career. Productivity is not a question. There wasn't anything bad that I saw.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything that made me go, oh my God, good. It's just, this guy's solid.
He
won a shit ton of sacks.
Well, when you're pretty athletic as he is, and you're bound to want to make plays, and you're playing for UCLA, which doesn't have the most elite talent in the world. You're gonna hold the ball on for too long trying to make plays on your own. So,
that's what he did too. I mean, he had the mobility to create additional stress on defenders. So, if the pass wasn't there and Charbonnet wasn't getting the ball, he took off.
Sometimes backwards and then throws while he's moving backwards and then it floats in. I saw that a lot more than I'd like, but in any event,
that stuff can be fixed.
Yes. It can be, but again, like you mentioned, 5th-year quarterback. So, how much fixing are you looking to do? And, he's not a guy that has come out with, this perceived super high upside in what we've seen from the expert mocks or anything like that. He's solid. Yeah.
He'll carve out a backup career. If a guy gets hurt, especially if he goes one of these more mobile, gets banged up every now and then quarterbacks backfield, maybe you can draw himself a chance to take some meaningful snaps. Ryan, you gave us your NFL. Why don't you give us your fantasy top 5 if you're in your rookie drafts?
Yeah, like fantasy top 5, I go CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, and then Hendon Hooker. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like the easy
That's
1, 2,
shock.
3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
It's just it's just all based on upside alone itself. That's how I look at that one.
Yeah. Quickly for me, for at least for fantasy wise, well, I mean, it'll be Richardson, Trout, Young, Hooker. I think Levis has pretty sneaky upside. For I think the chance for his athleticism to somewhat show the fact that he, 2-year player, he's got decent enough athleticism, at least passable enough athleticism. I think there's a chance that he could be some Daniel Jones type of, rushing production. I think he had 7 touchdowns last year in his junior year. The fact that he needs a lot of work from his mechanics, I could see that. So Levis and Hooker, DTR would be, especially if he can find himself, maybe snuck himself into the second round, by God's speed to a team that maybe needs a quarterback. Like if Houston decides to punt the position and they go DTR to play behind, Davis Mills, like then we're talking, DTR is going to be bumped way up. So, but let's go back to Levis. He's been the most kind of polarizing player to talk about. Stroud and Young has been the consensus 1-2 in mocks and everywhere else. We've seen that player profile beaten to death. Same with Richardson, but Hopper and I especially have our opinions on Levis. Let's dive into him. Why don't we start with the negatives and we'll let kind of Ryan come in with what he likes to see. So why don't you start with us, Hopper, with maybe why we should be pouring some water on this Levis hype.
Yeah, it's nothing but an arm. Is pretty much what it is for me. It's nothing but an arm. Tanner Lee had a good arm, and we saw how that worked out.
Ryan Mallett.
That's my favorite go-to. There's been plenty of quarterbacks with good arms that don't put it together. And I think people look at Levis and they see what worked out with Josh Allen, and like this is going to be the next one, and that's not it. He missed the career marks on at least the way that I evaluate prospects. Statistically, he missed career marks on pretty much everything. Out of any player I worked up at quarterback this year, he had the lowest pass yards out of all of them. He had a high interception rate, actually negative rush yards in his senior season, because remember, college counts sack yardage as negative. So everyone wants to tout the athleticism for a guy that had negative rush yards this year. But we're going to say he's going to be a Daniel Jones or Josh Allen type of rusher.
I didn't say Josh Allen.
No, you said Daniel Jones. But yes, he has solid size. He can throw the ball downfield with some zip. Okay. Mechanically fine in the pocket, pretty awkward on the move. Doesn't respond well to free rushers. Doesn't really get away from rushers all that well, which is why when he runs, he's fine. I'll give you that. When he decides he's running, he's fine. But under pressure, he looks lost. The way I termed it on Twitter was he looks like a baby giraffe, but also with a deer in the headlights type look under pressure. And that's exactly what it is. He doesn't get away from defenders. He doesn't step up on the pocket. He has a problem with his throw sailing and his accuracy, and he's consistently late to hit open receivers. And, people, it was a bad offense. It was a bad offense. Okay, yeah, maybe that's why he's under pressure, but unless the offensive coordinator is in its helmet telling him when to throw the football, the timing issues aren't on the OC. And yeah, some of that can be coached out, but there's also a very, very high bust probability with this profile, just like there is Anthony Richardson. And, I'm usually on the wrong side of those, and Levis is a guy that I said I'm not getting caught on the wrong side of this one. It doesn't look good for him. He almost reminded me a little bit of a more athletic Carson Strong from last year, where people wanted to hype him up, and it was just nothing but arm talent. And to me, that's what Levis is. It's arm talent. It's a big body that when he decides to run, sure, he's fine, but he struggled at the college level with pass rush, with timing, and I think he's going to struggle even more at the NFL level because that shit gets exposed there.
Yeah, I agree on the whole pass rush, but his offensive line in Kentucky, I'm gonna try to stick up for him on this one, was crap last year. So he had a lot of scrambling, and looking at his stats last year, it's really bad because he had 72 rush attempts for minus 107 yards. So
I know. It's great
doesn't look good
scrambling.
at
He
him.
doesn't want to go
Yeah.
forward, guys. He's
Great-
afraid.
no.
okay? He's afraid
Great
to go
scrambling.
forward.
But like,
Yeah, there might be
and
milk.
that's his
There might be
downfall.
milk up there.
There might be milk up there, but like he sucked at reading like defenses. Like he could not read them to save his life. So it's just like,
Came out of the combine too.
yeah, and even at the combine, that was another thing too. I was gonna bring up is why, like they're just running like the wide receivers just running routes, and Levis is throwing like same type of throws I would throw. Like I suck at throwing a fucking football, and I was throwing him just the same way. It's like I'd either throw him over your head, to the right of you, or too far to the left of you, and he was showing that accuracy of not being accurate.
Back Kentucky's O-line. Jesus Christ.
They lost a lot of players.
Football
And
Outsiders has him ranked as like the fourth, fifth worst in college football.
It was
last year.
bad.
Yeah. And that's, again, you can definitely point to it as part of the excuse, but at some point, especially this comes to the OC, is adjustments and trying to figure out how to utilize and maximize the strength of your players, especially someone like Levis, trying to figure out, okay, maybe I got to put him on the run more, whatever. I didn't watch his film because his profile, I can't.
He looks
stand.
awkward on the run, though. The problem when you get him on the run is he can't fucking throw. So he's best when he's in a clean pocket, and that's very Osweilerian.
Yeah, I was gonna say
He looks at his best when he's
Christian Hackenberg
when he's in a clean pocket, and that's not today's NFL.
But then he did show the flashes of Josh Allen when it came to like the running side of it. But like what's stupid about it is he would never like just like slide or anything. He would actually throw his body out there right at the linebackers and everyone. So it's like
he fucking should. He's 6'4", 229.
That's exactly what Allen does. That's what they're trying to get him to stop doing.
But no, I mean like he
Allen
like sits there
definitely should.
like no, like he's jumping in the air. He's not just like hitting him. He's jumping in the air. It's like, all right, dude, freaking stop. You're gonna freaking hurt yourself.
He's looking like Jimmy Kleinsasser out there trying to fucking hurdle people.
Yeah.
He was, yeah.
Throwback.
He was.
But I mean, it's definitely like he's a quarterback that I can think that can actually succeed in the NFL. He just needs the right coach. And I think Indianapolis would be great. I mean, look what who's the coordinator for the Colts now that was for
I don't want that for Indy because I like Indy.
I like Indy. Yeah, I like Indy too, but I wouldn't mind seeing him going to Indy. I think that's a perfect landing spot for him.
Send him to Houston.
No, don't send him to Houston. Houston can win
Send
a quarterback
him
next year.
to Tampa Bay.
Saskatchewan.
I
Oh,
want.
there you go. Tampa Bay Vipers. Are they still an XFL franchise? That's where he's going to end up.
Let him compete with Kyle
Kyle
Trask
Trask,
and Baker
Ugliest
Mayfield.
quarterback competition ever.
Oh my God! Please shoot us now.
No, don't.
They
do
have to
that.
pay us to watch that. That's like the opposite of pay-per-view. They actually have to pay the viewership to watch that fucking disaster. All right, let's pivot to the other guy that's kind of been in the same talks with them too, in Hendon Hooker. Buzz early around him now, especially with the last week or so of boxes, is that he's going to be a back end first round pick. A team like Houston now with rumors about them not taking a QB at 2, they may pass on one at 12. They could trade back, which I've seen in a lot of mocks now that are doing trades, is potentially Houston trading back and coming up for a guy like Hooker. I believe all three of us like him,
Yeah.
at least to an extent. So let's talk Hooker. Hopper, what do you like about him, and what do you like about him for the NFL?
Good size. Numbers are pretty decent. Tied for the lowest interception rate of all reviewed prospects for his career and the season, just 0.2% through the season. So he takes care of the ball. Led all reviewed quarterbacks in rush yards, trusts his arm, good arm talent, anticipation and timing, kind of the anti-Levis in that regard. He makes himself a running back when need be, but actually gets through his reads first. A little slow there, but he gets through them. And he fostered great chemistry with his top wide receiver, which says something about your ability to build that up. I mean, he and Hyatt, no doubt, were absolutely on the same freaking page when you watched it. So I thought he had what it takes to start in the NFL and to compete. His ball's got good zip, throws a solid anticipation. He's athletic and makes things happen with his legs. He did have some fumble issues, some slight accuracy misses, but that can be cleaned up and solved. He is 25. That's kind of the downside, but for him, it's more of an age downside and getting an early opportunity. That's the question, not so much the ability, in my opinion.
See
Ryan?
that's one thing I don't like is like everyone looks at his stats, everyone looks at what he's due, and then say, well, I don't like it because he's 25. Tell me what 25-year-old quarterback has never succeeded in the NFL. That's what I don't see because it's like I don't.
hasn't never, Kenny Pickett.
It
right
doesn't
now,
happen.
But
It doesn't really
It
happen.
doesn't really happen.
Pickett was what 23, 24. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like these older quarterbacks coming in, like
Brandon Whedon.
wasn't he like 28?
Yeah.
28.
Yeah. So I mean, that one I could kind of see. It's like okay, you're already like almost midway through your career. 25. I mean, I don't see it in him, and like he improved as a quarterback in general year after year from Virginia Tech all the way through Tennessee. So I actually like him a lot. I mean, look at his interceptions. I mean, he had
low.
yeah, exactly, extremely low. So he's very accurate, very pinpoint, and he also run the ball. So he had no fear, and like that accuracy, that's what I loved about him, especially against the Alabama. If you ever look at the Alabama game of in Tennessee, that was like one of my favorite games to watch because that back and forth between Hooker
That was a fun game.
and Bryce Young was a hell of a fun game. Yeah. I mean, come on, 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions this year.
I think it's growth is why, you hear NFL teams and others kind of fade age because it's growth in your physical ability, your physical traits, and what you can put on your frame, things like that. So at 25, a lot of times you're looked at and this is what you're getting. But that's okay with Hooker because, again, it's more, hold on to the damn football and easy cleanup type things. But if you're looking at a guy like Anthony Richardson, if Anthony Richardson was coming out at 25 with the productivity that he had, you're selling that one completely upstream into day
He's
three.
undrafted.
Yeah, he's undrafted. So
he won't even be drafted.
yeah,
He'd be like JT Barrett from Ohio State.
exactly.
Oh my God, throwback. Yeah. No, Hooker is your prototypical game manager. I think he'll come in, he'll do exactly what he's supposed to do, and he'll give you the mobility upside that you had in Alex Smith. That hybrid of both that can easily give you fantasy production at the next level.
Tyrod Taylor, he's the one
He's the one.
I saw
Taylor
Tyrod
too.
Taylor in.
Yeah, pretty much the same size. He'll be drafted a lot higher.
Yeah.
And his range right now is going the back end of the first. Obviously, if a team moves up to take him, it may not matter. But, you look at, teams in that range that may take him. Minnesota's been a very popular pick to sit behind, Cousins for a year. And then he gets the weapons that they'll get with that draft pick. Wherever he goes, I think he'll command a long career just because I think he'll be able to. He's smart enough. He's definitely smart enough to pick up an offensive play and keep playing. And he's smart enough with the football just based on the fact he had 12 career interceptions through 4 years as a starter. There's a very good chance that he ends up as a better quarterback in the NFL than both Richardson and Levis, and potentially even Yunner Stroud, just given he's got a really good floor to him. All right. Let's wrap up quarterbacks here. I want you guys to go back and forth one apiece. Give me a quarterback we haven't talked about yet that you like. And if they get a chance in the NFL, could be a guy that you look to pick up in your super flex leagues. Well, why don't we start with Hopper on this? I'm pretty sure I know you're going to talk about.
I think Ryan and I might have the same two and might end up covering both of them anyway.
That's fine.
We talked about this before. But
if you name one, I'll name the other one.
Okay, I'm going to go Clayton Tune. It's another 10,000 yard, 1,000+ rush yard guy in his college career, 100+ touchdowns, 4,000 yards in his final season with 40+ touchdowns. He's super productive. He scrambles well. He's comfortable under pressure in the pocket. Good zip. Throws are on time through his progressions. Some things that need to be cleaned up. A little hitch in his delivery. A little bit too much air under his deep balls. So sometimes he can bring defenders back into the play that might have otherwise been out of it. He's got the arm strength. That's just a cleanup type thing. Doesn't keep his eyes downfield when he runs. But overall, he's a guy that I think has some good rushing floor and some intangibles in his arm talent to where, kind of like Zappy or Purdy, if you were to get a chance, I wouldn't be surprised to see him successful. So if you're looking late round quarterback in a super flex or a rookie draft, he's one of two guys I would take a flyer on.
Maybe he'll follow the same career arc as his other Houston alum, Case Keenum.
Could be.
All right, yeah. So I got the other one, and I'm going with another older prospect here, and I'm going with Stetson Bennett. I like the way he is able to play, able to run the ball, able to throw the ball, and with his offensive coordinator Tom Monken going to the Ravens, I think he would be a great late round pick there to the Ravens as kind of like that bridge piece if they have Lamar there year after year after year. They do the franchise tag signing, try to bring him back next year. He doesn't have it. You kind of have Bennett there, and you kind of use him as a bridge quarterback even. Something fun,
My other one was Tyson Bagent. So I know we talked about him before. That's why I thought that maybe you were going that route.
Nah, I was going kind of more with like looking at like fits with between like offenses and offensive coordinators and pass coaches, and that was when I kind of came on here lately with Stetson Bennett.
He is fucking tiny.
Last update said he could go undrafted.
That's
5'11", 190.
I think he will. He's also older than Hooker by 2 months or right around that range. Yeah, he's gonna be, your Aaron Murray, I don't know, was it Ken Dorsey from those fantastic Miami teams in college? It's a name we know and love from college, but be steam crazier shit happen. Why don't you talk about your other guy, Hopper?
All right, I'll go quick on Bagent. It's a lot of the same stuff as it was with Tune. He's very productive, has prototypical size. He's mobile, extends plays. A little bit better pocket movement, a little bit better release, pretty solid accuracy. The thing I didn't like with him was game speed. Because he played for such a small school, he almost looked bored. The game speed was super slow. He didn't have a lot of zip, did some forcing, and then when you watch the Senior Bowl tape, you can see him adjust to the game speed, but he made some mistakes. He put some throws in the area, defenders, so I think he has a little bit longer path than what Tune does.
Damn.
That's not to say there's not things there to like, but yeah, there was some, it was a slower pace of play when you watched his real tape once you found some that wasn't filmed on a potato. But the Senior Bowl tape, it looked like, okay, I saw it. I could see where he could adjust to the NFL level to have a backup role or hang around as a third stringer for a little bit and eventually ascend. But there were definitely some more red flags to him than Tune, just playing smaller school and not necessarily having the game speed and the mistakes that came in the Senior Bowl when the game got faster.
Best comparable and player profiler to Taylor Heineke.
Agent?
Yep.
That makes a lot of
sense. Shit ton of
sense.
production. Was it almost over 9,000 passing yards?
Yep.
In 2 seasons, 90 touchdowns, I think I saw. I'm going to throw a name out there that I've seen get some love for. I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Tanner McGee from Stanford. I've seen some guys that I follow on Twitter that I like their QB analysis talk pretty highly about him. You guys have any thoughts on him?
McKee is 22, came out 6'6", 231.
Big dude.
Yeah, he didn't. So I didn't watch him because he didn't crack enough statistical numbers for me to want to watch him. He was, he hit 5 of 19
his numbers aren't
evaluation metrics.
Trying to figure out why they
and
like
one
him so
combine
much.
metric. So I don't really know what.
He's a bad version of Will Levis. Is what he is.
Okay.
7.1 yards per attempt, just 28 career touchdowns to 15 career interceptions. Career 63% completion rate. Only one lower or 2 guys lower, Anthony Richardson and Austin Honey.
Yeah, the more I look at his profile, I don't know what there is to like about him.
3.7% career touchdown rate, negative rush yards, under 3,000 in his final season, under 7 yards per attempt. Yeah, I don't know. I don't
know.
You're looking at his size. He's 6'6", 231.
So basically what you're saying, Ryan, is
Osweiler.
Is if you want Will Levis, just go and pick up Tanner McGee.
Yeah, if you don't trust Will Levis.
Because he's not going to get drafted. Like, maybe off of size, maybe some coaches said. Because you have to remember, too, people out there listening, it's the coaching staff's, it's their thought and belief if they can take these players up. That's why so many of these guys bust. It's really the confidence, right? We can harp.
We lost you again.
We can harp on their production and their and what they did all day long, but it's really the confidence what the coaching staff believes when they get these guys in there. So I can see the allure of a 6'6" dude. The same way that Osweiler got when he came out. So want to throw that out there. That's it for quarterbacks. You guys have any other names you want to throw out there before we jump to the beer review?
Yeah.
No, not for me.
Okay. For those of you that are wondering what our thoughts on Stroud and Richardson is, there's a bajillion other people that can talk about it. If you guys want to give your thoughts real quick, that's fine. But
I'll give it real quick. I see a lot of Russell Wilson and Bryce Young as far as the ability to move around, keep plays alive, extend them, that type of size, things of that nature. Stroud, a little bit more, prototypical. I think they're pretty interchangeable as far as how their careers could project. You're not wrong for taking one over the other.
No, I mean, like if you're looking at it and you're really worried about it, the more you're gonna look at it, you'll take CJ Stroud just based on his height, just because Bryce Young is at 5'10", and the prototypical quarterbacks who are below 6 foot have not been successful, especially like Baker Mayfield, who I was always high on.
I mean, but I will not lie. Yes, I was too.
Yeah, so but he has a rushing upside, but Stroud doesn't have the rushing upside. He was more of a passer, so it's a toss up, just like Hopper said.
Like it basically comes down to Stroud's bigger and better in the pocket, Young's smaller and better at improvising, extending plays, and playground ball.
You're right. Let's get to a beer review.
Beer review.
Power play goal for Jonathan Taves in his final.
Aww.
That's what the fist bump was for if you're watching on YouTube.
I don't care because fuck the Blackhawks. They gave me nightmares for many, many years as a Wild fan. So good fucking riddance, but good for you.
I care. I cried earlier.
I am again drinking Center Ice Brewery, their Arena Lager. It's a lager. This one's slightly sweet compared to some of the more cleaner ones you can get out there. It doesn't give me their billing of what they did, of what they've used for the beer, so I can't tell you from that standpoint. But not bad lager. Definitely one I don't mind drinking again, but I can do without the St. Louis Blues. Colors.
Wah wah wah.
Bum, bum, ba-dum.
All right, Bardstown Origin Series. So this is one of the three options. This is the rye when I first opened it. Like most things, a little bit of ethanol coming out of the glass, but that's all calmed down. And yeah, high rye bourbon. The rye notes definitely come out up front. It's a little bit herbal, a little bit of that spearmint note, but caramel undertones, vanilla undertones, brown sugar from the bourbon. It's real classic bourbon, but I think what makes this a little different is that the higher rye content definitely comes out and gives it a little bit more depth with some of those herbal, peppery, spicy notes on the nose. As I drink it, definitely peppery with a background of oak all the way through. The rye, again, comes forward, but it's really supported by the classic bourbon notes that are underneath of it. Maybe a little bit of peach and some stone fruit under there to go along with some of those sweet notes. Really long finish, particularly on the sides of the tongue. So this isn't one that sits on your throat or dries it out or anything like that. But the rye flavor just hangs around, and it gives it a good amount of impressive depth as it finishes out there. So really, really good at this price point. You don't see a lot of bourbons coming out at this price point anymore, especially, Bardstown. This is about half the price of their Discovery series, which is source stuff. So yeah, at the end of the day, I would say this is very, very good. At the price point, the rye content gives it a lot more depth than what I would expect out of most bourbons. It's not viscous. It's not too viscous, not too oily. It's well balanced. And it has a lot of like rye nuances without being too dominant or like new riff kick in the teeth.
Sounds good. So I had New Belgium's Voodoo Ranger Fruit Punch IPA, or actually Fruit Force Fruit Punch IPA, if I could speak it correctly. And you guys remember like Hawaiian Punch back in the day? It tastes just like that, minus the corn syrup stuck in the back of your freaking throat. I like it, especially on a day like today when it was like 85 degrees here in Michigan, and chasing it down. I could actually go for another one, but they're all gone because I already finished them all.
No,
I know, right? But very smooth, very refreshing. I like it a lot.
it's a little too sweet for me. Someone
Is
let me
it?
try it. Yeah, I had a taste of it, and I was doing a tasting back in February, and it's
I think it's because you did it in
I-
February. I think it's
the time.
more of a warm beer.
I was indoors. It had
Yeah.
nothing to do with it with time. It's just it
'Cause
was
I had
too
it
sweet for
earlier.
me.
I had it earlier when it was like colder out. I was like, oh, this is good, but like I don't feel like this is the right time to have it. Like it needs to be. This is more of a good summer beer. You're hanging out by the bonfire. It's a warm summer night. Perfect beer for it.
Yeah. All right. Running backs.
Running backs.
Running backs. All right.
Running
So
backs.
let's just get Bijan out the way. Is he the RB1?
Yes.
Yes.
Are you
Hands
taking
down.
him?
Wait,
Are you taking him
Sorry, in this draft or in Dynasty
in this
in
draft?
general?
We will get
Okay.
to Dynasty. We'll get there in a
Yes, he's
second.
the RB1 in this draft, no question.
Okay. Is he worthy of the 101 and Superflex drafts over your favorite quarterbacks?
No.
That's been the biggest debates on Twitter I've seen. Is a lot of people believe so,
Actually,
depending on where.
let me rephrase.
Okay.
He's worthy of that tier. It's not as unanimous or separated as some people would make you think.
I also seen Jackson Smith and Jigba go 101 also in Superflex.
I would not do that.
I would not
as
do that
much as I
either.
love him, but that's no.
Taking him over
These
the
are just
top
in
two
mocks.
quarterbacks is not even necessarily an indictment on Bijan. It's just that I don't see him as this transcendent generational talent that a lot of people do. I think he's very good, and you don't get. It doesn't matter who the running back is. You're not going to get that longevity out of them that you would the quarterbacks.
I almost think that's why. Let's jump to the dynasty talk, because this has obviously been where the biggest where I tend to agree with Hopper on this, and why he gets anointed so quickly to be the Dino RB1. We've talked about this on this show a handful of times, but we'll quickly go back and just give you the cliff notes. The lack of success, I think, from the last few years, at least from giving us the high end from the injuries to ETN his rookie year, the injuries to Javonte Williams last year, that long recovery. The 2020 class was supposed to be the 2017 reset that never came to fruition. So I think it's the starving of wanting a young running back to come in on top of him being the Debbie darling since he joined Texas. Who would you take ahead of him?
Ahead of Bijan?
And like, if you're looking at your dynasty overall, so all running backs.
If we were doing like a dynasty startup right now.
Yeah. What
Okay.
running backs would you feel comfortable taking over Bijan right now?
Kenneth Walker?
So just one.
No.
Like maybe Kenneth Walker,
Okay.
Brees Hall. Like, it's all about landing spot. Like, if you tell me Bijan, like, everyone says pretty much
He's
Bijan
going to be
Robinson's-
productive wherever he goes. I mean, first round
yeah.
running backs get opportunity and
Put him at the Patriots.
tenfold.
Does he still have top end production?
Yes,
Or
because
does
he's still
Ramondre-
going to get.
Is
I'm talking
Ramondre
about
Stevenson
that.
going to spell him?
He'll get spelled, but you don't have to not be spelled to be top end production, but top one production, yeah, you gotta. To be top 3, you pretty much have to not be spelled. But to be top 5, that's not the case.
Yeah, but look at Sony Michel when they drafted him. When the Patriots drafted him, everyone was all excited over Sony Michel.
Sony Michel
he
was
flopped.
terrible. I was never a believer in
That was
Sony
the pro-
Michel.
he was
so
not.
I was just using that as
that's
an
not a good
like,
example for me.
Yeah.
That one doesn't speak to me.
It's Barkley.
I hate
Except
it.
I don't get the I don't see
don't
the
get-
Barkley comps.
I don't either.
In him. I don't.
No.
And I don't see the Taylor comps as a runner either. So who would I take ahead of him? It's Brees Hall,
Okay.
I think there's an argument to be made for Taylor, potentially Barkley if he gets a long-term deal. After his production, again, Brees. Not saying Bijan hasn't taken a snap in the NFL yet. So probably Taylor, Barkley, Brees, and potentially Walker. So he's like, it's like there's a second tier there, and he's probably firmly in that second tier. There's some guys that I think, talent-wise, if I was drafting a startup today, I would probably go with them ahead of, like, Josh Jacobs comes to mind, but he's not on a long-term deal, and he's on a shit team. But talent-wise, I actually had Bijan really close to what we saw Josh Jacobs' upside be last year, is kind of that RB2, RB3. I think that's a good Bijan comp for what I saw on tape and everything. I didn't see Barkley, but I could definitely see Jacobs and Jacobs at his best, and Bijan being maybe a little bit more consistent version of that, which does make him a top 3 dynasty running back. I have a problem with anointing him top 1, though, and unanimously top 1 before he ever takes a snap. So there are 2 or 3 guys that if I were to do a startup today, I would take ahead of him. Brees, Taylor, potentially Saquon, potentially Walker. That you'd kind of be like this second tier of highly touted, I think, is where I'd have him at right now.
I think for me, it's Brees for sure. Brees is my RB1. Walker is where my debate starts, and I think that's where it ends for me. I love Taylor, but you're getting a guy who had 1,000 touches in college.
Yep.
Who's had 2 workhorse seasons already with the Colts. You talk about a shit team, like he's in a worse spot than Jacobs. And there are games where he's just not going to catch enough passes, and you're hoping the rushing production plus the scoring gets there. I still love Taylor. I think he's a buy. I think too many people are down on him. It's age, because what we've seen almost every time these elite running backs get second contracts, it's like a fucking death sentence. Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Delvin Cook.
McCaffrey's been hurt the last several years, even though I picked McCaffrey over him if I had a guaranteed healthy McCaffrey.
For 1 year, I'll have taken McCaffrey over everybody. Spoiler, he's my RB1 in redraft. But
yeah,
it's this is where the age part, and this is where the conversation of a lack of guys hitting that spot that we wanted to. Swift just can't get there through injuries and through just a lack of trust, I think, from Detroit. And then through the 21 bad class, even though I think Najee's almost a value at this point, I think people have shifted back to now liking him because they've dunked on him for so long.
I think Dobbins' injuries have taken him out of that conversation, even though he's shown he can still be explosive when he's healthy.
He's finally recovered from his injury, I think, fully, too.
Montgomery's more settled in as a high-end 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Chubb's been what we thought Chubb was going to be, but the pass catching never materialized, so he's just a really good between the tackles guy, and Derrick Henry's the wrong side of 30, and Kamara fell off as soon as you didn't have somebody there to spell him, and the Saints went downhill, and yeah, I agree.
We are in a dire need of a running back renaissance. Like,
we are, and
it's not like 2014 levels, but we're getting there.
And I think that also boosts Bijan up a little bit too, because it's not like you're getting this giant infusion of sure things with this class. So,
yeah. So let's go beyond Bijan. I think everything we're locked where he is. It's the next guy, Gibbs. Is that everyone's RB2?
Yeah, it's the next guy's Gibbs for me, and then it goes into any number of directions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brian, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, Gibbs is number 2.
Is there any?
I'm sorry. He's always been number 2.
Is there any pause of concern of his size and maybe the lack of workhorse potential that can maybe knock him down a little bit?
I'm not worried about the workhorse potential. It's more like the workhorse is gone in my mind, so I kind of look at it as like a nice split back. He's the Alvin Kamara of the backs here.
He's not, from a BMI perspective, he's half a point smaller than Bijan. If he clears 200, it's even less than that. But at 199, at 199, what he weighed at the combine, it's literally 0.6 of a BMI percentage point behind Bijan. I don't want to say nobody. There's only a handful of these guys in the class that flat crack from a BMI perspective what prototypical BMI would be. So I don't have any pause about that. I agree that he's probably more of a 70-30 type of split back. He is going to get spelled. He's not going to be out there for every play, and that's fine in today's game. You can be a running back 6 through 12 and
can be a top 3 back,
a top 3 back in that
Look
scenario.
Look at Austin Eckler.
Hell, Kamara did it too.
Yeah,
Kamara,
for a while, and so and that goes with the fact that he's not a power back. He doesn't move piles. He's not going to be used a lot in short yardage. Probably he's out on routes a lot, so he doesn't do a ton of blocking. So that's there's some holes there where there's going to have to be probably a bigger back with him. But ETN, who we all like, is another guy that fits this as well. So
who did the kind of the Ina Benjamin route from a few years back of I'm going to bulk up and look good for the combine and for my weigh in.
Yeah.
We all know ETN's playing weight is generally in that 200 to 205 range. And I think most of us here are big fans of what he can do. So we all can agree that Gibbs, well, there's some landing spot, dependencies. I can't wait to see the Chiefs draft him and then watch people try to explain Gibbs over Bijan. It's going to be, I'm all here for it. I hope it happens.
Kamara and Eckler are two of them I had in guys that came to mind when I watched this film too. So he's got contact balance and receiving ability like Kamara, and he's a little stockier like Eckler is. So
yeah. All right, let's go to where the actual conversation starts. And I guess RBs 3 through whatever. Instead of trying to rank them in a way, let's just talk about our favorites in this spot. And then we'll also talk about some of the guys we're trying to avoid, our landmines out there. So, Ryan, in this 3+ range, our guy you could see maybe get into the RB3 spot based off of some hypothetical landing spot. Who is somebody that you're a big fan of that could take that spot for you?
A lot of people will knock it just because of his size, but I'm going Devin A-Chain on that one, just because of that track speed he carries. A lot of people look at him as like this back who is way undersized, which he is. He's 5'9", 184 pounds, but still, that speed and what he could do in the backfield is great because you can put him out in the what's the word I'm looking for now?
Wide. He splits wide on occasion.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like dump and go, and it's just like he goes 0 to 60 in no time. So it's like he can stop and go and just keep on going. The only downside I don't like about him is that he can't block. He's a mediocre blocker.
Why would you want him blocking?
He's 184 pounds. You don't want him to.
Yeah.
If a team has him block him, then they don't fucking deserve him.
But no, he's 184 pounds, but also he can also go down easily. Like if you hit him just right, he can't keep his balance and just goes right down.
Yeah, you hit him low because he's moving so quick. He doesn't doesn't have that, but he is explosive and picks up chunk plays. A-Chain, what I see for him, and I don't have him quite that high. I have him and Vaughn closer together because I love the skill set on both of them. I love the film on both of them. It's just size, and I'm waiting to see what the landing spot and capital is in those two for him and Deuce Vaughn. But A-Chain's is a guy that I think if he lands with the right level of innovation in a coach is going to get real fun because he's not, to me, I look at him and I don't see just a pure running back. He can absolutely play running back. He's a smooth runner. He's explosive. He picks his way through traffic. Gets hold your breath every time he gets it, but he splits out. He can be used on sweeps. He can be used in a lot of different ways. And I think if you get the right creative mindset with A-Chain, you're gonna see a guy that pops himself into weekly RB2 with RB1 upside conversations because of the different ways he can be deployed in change of pace. And he was used in split backfields. He can be used as a pure running back. Can be used split out. So he's a very intriguing prospect, especially in the right offense.
And plus, he can also play punt returner, kick returner because that's what he did at Texas A&M, and he just dominated that.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a weapon.
Yeah.
is what I see A-Chain as. I don't necessarily look at him and say, like, that's the RB3. I look at him and I'm like, that dude's a weapon.
Right. That's how I look at him as too. It's like I like him as RB3 just because of what he can do.
He's a more explosive JD McKissick.
So
He's like a remold of Darren Sproles.
yeah.
Size would fit perfectly too. All right, Hopper, why don't you give us one?
Yeah, I think I have two guys I feel strongly about on this right now. So I'll give you the newest one, and it's Chase Brown. Chase is a guy that had workhorse type volume at Illinois. He gets small at the line, shows some good cut ability, especially in traffic. He has good burst, patient, but not in the way that I've yelled at people about patience the last couple of years. I've been reaming on patience for a while because what I learned from missing on Royce Freeman, and what we do is we try to learn, is that Freeman was too patient. He was always waiting for something to develop in the NFL. That didn't happen. With Chase Brown, more than once, I saw a willingness to stick a foot in the ground and go, but then I saw that he was actually picking up on if his linemen were winning and he needed to wait for something to open up, he could deploy that patience. But it wasn't like, I'm being patient and dancing behind the line or at the line on everyone, or afraid to go forward because I'm waiting for something to open. It was very decisive type of patience that you really only get. I'm probably doing a bad job of explaining it, but you definitely get it watching his film. It's smooth agility. Reminded me a bit of like some Ryan Matthews or even some Jordan Howard in his running style. But he has the ability to catch passes too. His big knock is in short yardage game, closer to the goal line type situations, or even in closer type situations. It kind of made me think of Montgomery when everybody's stacking the box and keying in on the fact that he's running behind Illinois' offensive line. Yeah, he got stacked up a lot. He wasn't necessarily moving piles, but Illinois ran the ball a shitload, and he can make things happen. He had the explosiveness to do it. He had the acceleration to do it, the burst to do it, the pass catching ability. He's a guy that I think, given an opportunity, is going to be a pretty nice player.
I've seen his name. I've seen his name pop up in some of these, favorite day three. A guy like Damian Pierce or Tyler Algier, if he lands into into an ambiguous backfield, or to the jokingly, one injury away role, right?
Exactly.
23 years old. It's a bit of a concern, obviously.
That's Khalil Herbert, though.
Yeah, right. He's one of those guys where if he lands in that situation, that he should be a guy that you circle on your board. Fantastic athleticism across the board for his size. So just a name to put out there. I like it. Ryan, you get another one?
Kendre Miller.
Seen his name pop up a bunch too.
Right? I mean, the way he played at TCU, I mean, especially when you had like Zach Evans, who was actually playing with you there, and you made Zach Evans basically transfer, and it shows why he transferred. It's like almost just weight. I mean, his size, the way he can play, the way he moves, the way he's shifting this, I like it a lot. I mean, a lot of people are even pushing him as the RB3 in this class too.
Yeah, I haven't seen him go that high in drafts enough to be the RB3. But again, I think as we talked about in this range, I think landing spot and draft capitals could be a big thing. I've seen, 5 running backs go day 2, and and I've seen upwards to 6 or 7. So it's all a crapshoot. And as we know, especially for running backs, landing spot means even more than any other really position that we talk about.
Yeah. And he's just freaking solid, man. 6 foot 220, 224 attempts, 1,399 yards, 17 total touchdowns. I mean, it's freaking nuts, especially in the the Big 12 championship over. Who were they playing? It was Kansas State, and it was TCU. They smoked TCU. They beat TCU in overtime. I mean, he just dominated that game. His footwork, the way he shifts, the way he can move around, it's freaking awesome.
Hopper, who's your other guy?
I'll let you guys choose. Do you want the guy based on stats or the guy based on film?
I mean, why don't you give us both?
Stats film.
Okay. The first one's Izzy Abanaconda. 46.5 dominator, absolute monster athletically. He was the next guy on my list to watch, but I couldn't stay awake and didn't get back to him yet. So I'll have him done before the draft. But just the only thing on him is that, he only has 330 games under his belt, 390 career rushes. So he didn't touch a lot of, the counting stat productivity metrics that I typically watch. But then you go look at this year, 239 rushes, 1,400 yards. That's hella good productivity. Not a lot done as a receiver, but the athleticism's there. The single season production's there. 5'11", 215. Size is passable. Again, he's a little bit below the BMI threshold, but so is everybody in this class. So he's a guy that I'm very, very intrigued by. We'll see how I feel after I watch his film. The other one that is more of a film take for me, and a productivity take is Chris Rodriguez. This is a pure runner. And again, you're gonna have to get some guys that are very, very good at one thing. So Rodriguez is a pure runner, but he ticks the size metric, one of very few that actually does. It is another 23-year-old back. Apparently, I have a thing for those. But he doesn't need holes open to get positive yards. He sees his cutback lanes, one cut runner that runs violent, moves piles, takes multiple defenders to bring him down most of the time. I mean, the dude runs violently with good burst at the line, good contact balance. He can get spun around, hit, doesn't lose momentum. Like he runs kind of Lynch-esque almost. Not super agile, but don't have to be when you run that violently. Not a top end guy, but the dude he likes contacts. He likes physicality. And it's kind of a throwback, but the dude is monstrous.
Like back to Israel Benkando. Do you see you say you didn't watch film on him yet?
Not yet.
Or did you?
Not yet.
All right. So when you watch him, see if you see like a glimpse of Joe Mixon in there. Like
Okay.
to see like a Benkando to be like a player to go to like Cincinnati would be like what I see is like the next Joe Mixon replacement.
Yeah. Cincinnati and Minnesota are two places that are going to get real interesting with their pending bell cow backs leaving type situation.
Yeah. And this guy's in Israel's name has been the most talked about since Pitt's pro day. Like, obviously, in a running back class that it's kind of been lackluster, especially when some of the guys in that same range, like Sean Tucker and Zach Evans, didn't test.
Wow.
And
yeah,
or tested on camera and then posted it with his own stats. I love you, Sean. Love you, Sean Tucker. Oh no, that's amazing. I can't wait for him to go day 3, not to ever worry about him again. All right, let's get to a couple of the. Let's put some water on some of this heat. Give me a couple of voids. Give me a couple of guys that you're a little more lukewarm on. And then maybe what the community's been telling people.
Zach Charbonnet.
No.
We had to.
You knew I was gonna do it.
I know you were. I knew Ryan would have his response.
Film, I thought he lacked speed and explosiveness. Didn't showcase a ton of agility. Didn't showcase great vision, cutback, or create. Really just nothing exciting there. Yeah, he didn't take negative plays. He had some solid leg drive. Comfortable as a receiver, but it was definitely more of a, reminding me of several other guys of draft class past that end up somewhere, and then we're going to argue through the season about how they're one injury away, and then we're never going to hear from them again, or they're going to be in like these weird spellback situations. Basically, he checks the mold of a Chargers back.
He's going to go back up Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
Hey,
and then
whatever.
not beat out Isaiah Spiller.
But
He'll beat Isaiah Spiller.
Josh Kelly.
Yeah, that's exactly who I was talking about was Isaiah Spiller. He reminds me a lot of Spiller. He's not fast. He isn't agile. He doesn't accelerate well. He's not particularly dangerous in space. He's just, he's. I said solid. That might be good. I mean, he's okay. I think he projects as a backup or a change of pace guy in the NFL. I think the best case scenario is if he lands in a situation like the aforementioned Algier Pierce does, where he could get volume year one and be, a volume-based RB2. That's the best case scenario for him. If he lands, I don't worry about him beating out, somebody with better pedigree or that's entrenched or cutting into workloads or anything like that. He had a nice college career, but I don't see it on tape.
Ryan, rebuttal.
I see it on tape because it's just like he's one of those superpower backs. I don't know. It's just I'm not seeing the same exact thing that Hopper sees.
That's why tape.
That's what I don't see.
That's why we do this.
Tape is
right.
Is tape.
Yeah, it's always going to be subjective.
I feel like he's almost like one of the safest type of players in this class as a running back because he had elite college production and an above athletic profile.
That's never failed before.
Right, yeah, and it does, and I get it does fail, but he can carry a large workload. He went back to UCLA to work on improve his catching game and passing game, and he did. Given he recorded 37 receptions for 321 yards as a junior, but the top end speed and elusive is a lack. I think he's still going to be drafted fairly highly.
He is a firm day 2 pick. I think any mock that goes out to round 3, which is pretty common now.
He's going to San Francisco in the 3rd round.
Yeah, that's been the joke.
To never be heard from again.
I jokingly said, I think when I first watched this film on one of our podcasts, that he reminds me of Zach Moss, and I was immediately put off by the rest of everything I saw. In a pretty underwhelming athletic combine for running backs, he somehow stood out with a above average athleticism. We've seen running backs with good pass catching profiles, with good pass catching production, not knowing how they got their pass catching production done by, or is it done by just dumps off and screens where you're not having them actually run routes? And that's what I saw from Charbonnet, is not do that. Now he's going to get the draft capital.
You know who else had a ton of college productivity? Sorry, I've been trying to pull this up. You know who else had
no.
Had a good amount of college productivity through their junior season and good yardage on the ground, and people thought, checked in at decent size, 6'1", 215, solid, early day 3 pick, multiple 1,000-yard seasons. Isaiah Spiller.
I was gonna say,
yeah, and I was high on Isaiah Spiller too last year.
Spiller also had a worse
athletic profile. That's why I didn't talk about it. We only talk about the things that make my argument. Sorry, Dan.
Damn it! I will twist everything up. Now, like I said, he's gonna get to DC, so he lands in a team like Minnesota or like Cincinnati with these unknown situations, or if he surplants,
he lands on Minnesota.
Damian Pierce in
Houston. Good time backing up Alex Madison.
I can't wait for us. No. Fuck Madison. He's basically Madison to me anyway, so he's going to be productive.
There you go. That's what it's come to. Zach Charbonnet, Alex Madison.
Oh no,
he's one Alex Madison injury away.
Oh my god, Jesus Christ! All right, Brian, you have somebody that you want to spill some water on?
Kenny McIntosh.
Even though you had to pour water on him, I thought he was already under the sun
I don't know.
somewhere.
I've seen his name float a little
Sebastian
bit.
the Crab.
Yeah, like people look at these like Alabama or not Alabama, but Georgia running backs and think it's like the next coming of the next running back. You've had Todd Gurley, you've had DeAndre Swift. It's like, no, he's not that. It's over. I mean, he sucked at Pro Day. He sucked at the combine. He's been dropping. I've been seeing mock drafts. He's already been dropping in it, but it's just everyone had the hype of he's actually a good running back, but he's really not. He's just another average running back that's just going to come out of Georgia,
which has been a lot of them.
He's just a guy.
So he's a slightly more athletic Elijah Holyfield.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember there was people on Twitter that said he was the RB1 of that class. Was it 2019, right, Hopper? Was that 19?
Yeah.
Holyfield, yeah. Oof.
I remember that.
Woof. What
Because
about
he was so ripped. He was so ripped and big. It was just like, holy crap, look at this guy.
It's because he made DeAndre Swift play backup role for 1 year as a junior or as a sophomore. That's the only reason why. All right. Let's get to right towards the end here. Why don't you guys give me a player or two that were a little bit deeper, a little bit down in your drafts, guy that you know for damn well he's probably going to go day 3 in the NFL draft, but someone that if they get the right landing spot that you're going to pound the table for. Give me a sleeper. Give me that round 3, round 4 pick in your rookie drafts. Whoever wants to start.
Oh, it's honestly probably A-Chain and Deuce Vaughn.
Okay. Well, let's talk Deuce Vaughn because you talk A-Chain. Let's talk Deuce Vaughn.
I'll talk Deuce Vaughn because it's a lot of the same stuff is
5'5",
is. He's 5'5". He's shorter, but he's shorter. He's lighter. He comes in at 5'5", 179 pounds. So it's actually a better BMI than A-Chain. But yeah, tied for shortest back in the class. He's the lightest back in the class. Leads the class in receptions and receiving yards, though, for his career. Carried 293 times last season, so he did have bell cow level work. 650 carries in his career. He's slippery at the line, runs patient, but not so patient that he's watching the play develop, exactly like what I talked about with Brown. Good burst, good open field vision, small enough to go under the line. Does run with a little bit of power because of that low pad level. And numbers suggest he's really, really good as a receiver. So I think he's a fun player. He's got some woe factor to his game, a lot like A-Chain does. He can make people miss. Burst definitely plays at the next level, and he showcased some long speed. I think he plays bigger than what he is, which good. He kind of has to.
So he plays more like he's 5'7" instead of 5'5".
Yeah, he plays more like he's 5'9", and I mean he actually can block and runs with some attitude. So it's his ability to move piles, work through contact versus miss it. Balance isn't an issue. It's just, again, big piles of contact, stacked boxes. But it's a smaller guy that, if you put this skill set in a bigger frame, he's easily up in the top tier discussion, just like A-Chain.
I want to see him go to a scheme or head coach or a coaching situation that's going to be creative with him. Because I mean, when we first talked about him on the show, Tariq Cohen was the first thought in mind, right?
Yes.
Smaller size, smaller frame, but super athlete.
Go pair him with Matt Nagy in Kansas City.
I mean, they're in need of their Jerick McKinnon replacement. If it's not Jahmyr Gibbs, might as well just make it Deuce Vaughn. Ryan, you got somebody in mind?
Evan Hall, man.
Evan Hall.
The Wildcats.
Absolutely lit up the combine. He's another one that's on my radar too that I haven't done the full workup on yet.
He's definitely late round like a running back, but I definitely see him as more like I always look at the fantasy perspective of it, not just the NFL perspective of it.
I mean, yes. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, like I look at him, and he's like what I wish A-Chain was size wise, because he's 5'10", 209 pounds. So like if A-Chain was that size, like that'd be perfect for him. But like definitely he's a PPR type running back who led all running backs in receiving yards last year. He had 55 receptions for 554 yards and 2 touchdowns. And this was also on the bad, like, Northwestern team in general. While also amassing 221 carries, 913 yards, and another 5 touchdowns. So 7 total touchdowns on this bad of a team. But if you looked at him, he's definitely a compact runner, dense ball muscle with lower body thickness, jitterbug feet, crisp cuts in the backfield, fluid in tight spaces, making initial tacklers miss. Like, he checks a lot of boxes I like. So I think like he's one player who I can see actually who we think right now is going to go day 3 or undrafted, who could actually move even up in drafts. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we hear his name even earlier than expected.
He's going to San Francisco.
Basically, it's like if you're in on like Jahmyr Gibbs, just think of this as like a poor man's Jahmyr Gibbs right now.
Not bad. All right. DJ in the chat says Trey Palmer. When I asked this question, what are you guys' thoughts on Nebraska's Trey Palmer. I see wide receiver, so I don't know if you missed running back here. I also saw I see Tion Evans from Louisville too. You guys got thoughts on those two gents?
Well, Trey Palmer was definitely one of those wide receivers who was basically like almost uncovered. Like he was the number one wide receiver in Nebraska. He was what made Nebraska actually be good when they could actually throw the ball.
Yeah.
Senior year breakout.
As far as Palmer goes, I think I do have him on my radar for the wide receiver episode. I'm not there yet, so I'll refrain.
That's fine. We'll get to him next week. DJ, we just means you got to come back next week.
Tion
I mean,
Evans,
you also got to think you got to look at Trey Palmer too because he also played at LSU. So I mean, LSU transfer.
Tion Evans, I looked at his statistics and said no. I didn't even write them into the spreadsheet. He's actually got a strike through his name, which means I looked at his statistics. I said there's no way he's hitting the mark for me to watch film, and marked it out. He hits the BMI box. 107 speed score, 4.52 40. On the athletic numbers that we got on him, and they're both just okay. There's nothing there to make me. He's going to be a day 3 pick. There's nothing there that.
I think he's going to go undrafted.
That potentially too. There's nothing there
bad.
that makes me think that, this is a guy that I'm going to plant a flag in from a fantasy perspective. We'll see what happens from there. There's always, an undrafted guy or two that seems to catch up that we've written off, and maybe it's Evans this year.
There's always someone we always miss, no matter what we do.
Yeah, but based on everything I do pre-draft, I didn't even give him the time of day. Just because there were, I got to cut that list down somehow, and there were a total of 57 running backs alone that hit for me to do pre-draft workups on. 91 wide receivers, 35 tight ends, and 23 quarterbacks. So talking close to 200 some odd players there.
Yeah, we're not doing 2018.
Got to pare it down somehow.
So basically, to sum it up, like the easy way to say is like he's another name in a very deep mid-level running back class. So he's a dart throw. That's how we feel about him. Like it's like in rookie draft, you're just
good point.
You're at that dart throw point. You just take him then.
Yeah, it's a good point. If you like him, you take him. I look, he's got some things that say could be. It's not a total red flag.
Yeah. All right, you guys have any more guys you want to throw out there for your sleeper, my guy, and then we'll get out of here.
Not for my sleeper, my guy. I just want to say that I hate Sean Tucker.
I know you do.
I love Sean Tucker.
And
I know you do. I'm there.
Sean Tucker won't die.
Yeah. Team name.
Sean Tucker won't die.
Sean Tucker won't die.
I thought Zach Evans was a relatively violent runner, another guy that could go, have some between the tackles value in the same vein, but not, as good as Rodriguez. That's all
right. That's it then. Nice.
All right.
Part 1 of rookies over with.
Here, I'll save you. Thank you guys for tuning in. At Beerfield on Twitter, at RyanMiner_FFB. I am at Beerfield Hop with 2 Ps. Your host for the evening and for next week is at Beerfield Thury. We'll be back next week to talk about quarterbacks and
wide receivers.
Wide receivers and tight ends. What's a deep tight end class, and a very
I can't wait.
Again, interesting wide receiver class. So we'll catch you guys next time.
See ya.
See ya.